But it'll be interesting to see if that's going to make a difference against Oleksandr Usyk. I do think he's in the fight. I do think it's a dangerous fight, but ultimately, I think it's one he'll lose. I think.
Then people are going to get all getting excited. Put him in with Oleksandr Usyk. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that because Usyk's too smart.
Joseph Parker's potential clash with Oleksandr Usyk has stirred the boxing world, but not everyone is convinced this is the right fight at the right time. The excitement of a possible matchup between Parker and the reigning unified heavyweight champion is undeniable, but when analysts peel back the hype, the picture looks far less encouraging for the New Zealander. The voices of caution are growing.
Joseph Parker is struggling from inactivity at the moment because he's been so used to fighting back to back to back.
Yeah,
you know,
not his own fault by any means.
No, it's not a disturbance in the Bacoli fight that he was all going ahead, and you know, Bacoli jumps in. Sorry, you know, all of the disturbance of the Dubois fight. Right. It's just he's in a rock and a hard place, Joseph Parker, because he knows the shot's coming, but he also wants to stay.
Growing louder. From Tony Bellew to Johnny Nelson and Duke McKenzie, many seasoned observers argue that Parker's current form and recent inactivity leave him dangerously exposed against one of the most complete fighters of this generation. Training footage of Parker showing flashes of rust and vulnerability only reinforces the fears that stepping into the ring with Usyk now could prove more reckless than rewarding. Tony Bellew, a man who once shared the ring with Usyk, doesn't sugarcoat it. Joseph Parker should think twice before diving headfirst into such dangerous waters. Bellew points to Parker's inactivity, emphasizing that sharpness is everything against Usyk's relentless rhythm. Even the slightest hesitation or lapse in timing will be brutally exposed.
I still don't feel that even that performance is not enough to beat Oleksandr Usyk, because boxing's all about levels, and Usyk isn't the kind of, as I said before, Usyk's not on the slide. He's not, and he would, you know, once you set out your game plan and you get your tactics and ABCD right, as Usyk has done, that's why he's unbeaten and a two division unified 4-belt era champion. That's what separates the good from the great.
Parker, for all his natural gifts, still looks a step away from peak sharpness, and against someone like Usyk, that's the difference between surviving and drowning. Johnny Nelson echoes the same concern. To him, timing is everything, and right now, Parker's timing couldn't be worse. Jumping into a mandatory fight with Usyk without the proper run-up could be career suicide. Usyk may be edging into the twilight of his career, but his skills, precision, and ring IQ remain untarnished. Nelson asks the hard question, why risk everything when the champion is still operating at such a dangerous level? Duke McKenzie takes the debate further.
So I still don't feel that even that performance is not enough to beat Oleksandr Usyk, because boxing's all about levels, and Usyk isn't the kind of, as I said before, Usyk's not on the slide. He's not, and he would, you know, once you set out your game plan and you get your tactics and ABCD right, as Usyk has done, that's why he's unbeaten and a two division unified 4-belt era champion. That's what separates the good from the great.
Cutting through sentiment with cold realism. Boxing, he reminds us, is about levels, and Usyk operates on one Parker simply hasn't reached. The Ukrainian's flawless tactics, his adaptability, and his dominance across multiple divisions prove why he's unbeaten. This isn't just talent, it's greatness. Parker, on the other hand, while talented and durable, hasn't yet proven he can thrive against fighters at Usyk's level. McKenzie acknowledges Parker's mandatory position, but he draws a vital distinction. Deserving a shot and being ready for it are not the same thing. Against Usyk, it isn't enough to show up. You have to be exceptional, and Parker, for all his progress under Andy Lee, does not yet look exceptional enough to trouble the champion. Spencer Oliver highlights the intrigue of Parker's mandated position.
You just go, who's going to beat him? You know, who is that guy? I think the guy that deserves a shot next, by the way, is Joseph Parker. He's the guy that's been waiting, and I think the WBO have mandated that fight. So unless Oleksandr Usyk vacates the belt, he will have to fight Joseph Parker next. That'll be an interesting fight. That's probably his biggest challenge.
Yes, Usyk may be forced into the ring with him, and yes, Parker has waited his turn, but Oliver dismantles the illusion. Being deserving does not automatically make Parker dangerous. Inactivity, more than anything, dulls sharpness, and sharpness is the only weapon that gives a fighter even a sliver of survival against Usyk. Frank Warren, ever the promoter, sells the fight differently. He speaks of mandatories, negotiations, venues, and opportunities. Fans in the UK would flock to see Usyk Parker, no doubt. But as Warren hypes the business side, the reality of the fight itself gets lost. Usyk doesn't care for promoters' talk. He cares only about dominance. Whether in Ukraine, the UK, or anywhere else, his style remains lethal. Warren calls it Parker's great opportunity, but opportunities can cut both ways. Against a technician like Usyk, what is billed as opportunity could easily turn into exposure, revealing flaws.
What a fight. We now know who holds the belts, who's the number one, and he's going to have to make his mandatories now. And his first mandatory is the WBO against Joe Parker. So Joe Parker will get his opportunity. That's BO basically said we've got to start negotiating with each other, and that's what we're doing. I'd love to put the fight on in the UK.
Parker hasn't even realized exist. Roy Jones Jr. offers Parker praise. Under Andy Lee's guidance, Parker looks quicker, sharper, and more confident. On paper, it sounds like a recipe for a competitive fight, but Roy knows the difference between theory and reality. The problem isn't Parker's growth. It's the ceiling he's trying to break through. Usyk isn't just another heavyweight. He's a puzzle no trainer has solved. No fighter has cracked. Parker's hand speed, Jones concedes, may trouble average heavyweights, but Usyk thrives on shutting down rhythm. His study of opponents, his in-round adaptability, and his ability to make strengths look like weaknesses, all but neutralize Parker's supposed advantages. Roy frames it as a good fight, intriguing stylistically, but even he stops short of predicting a Parker victory. Andy Lee, Parker's trainer, speaks with
This guy right now is Joseph Parker. Why? Because he's not a big heavyweight. He's quick, he throws combinations. He has a great trainer with him now, in Andy Lee, and he's more comfortable than I've ever seen him in his whole career. And so I think that is actually a very good fight for both fighters.
Unshakable confidence. He insists Parker has erased his bad habits, fixed the pauses, learned to sustain pace, and matured as a fighter. But here lies the flaw. Usyk doesn't wait for opponents to make mistakes. He manufactures them. His feints, his angles, his pressure, all of it forces hesitation where none existed. You can drill all camp long to maintain consistency, but Usyk's chaos makes even the most disciplined fighter crumble. Lee's belief is noble, but belief doesn't close the skill gap. Usyk thrives when fighters push themselves to prove they belong, and in doing so, they play into his hands. Adola Depot highlights the theater of Parker's callouts. It's exciting, sure, but excitement alone doesn't win fights. Parker has called out Dillian Whyte, Anthony Joshua, and now Usyk, but the pattern is the same. Ambition hasn't translated.
Of their era. Hamza wants to fight Canelo. Joe wants to fight Usyk. We always want to challenge ourselves as fighters, and we're up for the challenge.
Into dominance. Fans love boldness, but there's a fine line between bravery and overreach. Usyk doesn't respond to callouts. He responds to execution. When Parker speaks of his readiness, he leans heavily on training camps, nutritionists, and game plans. Those are tools, but tools mean little if the craftsman can't use them under extreme pressure. Usyk is no ordinary opponent. He disrupts plans, dismantles structure, and makes even confident men look lost. Parker's reliance on his team, Andy Lee and nutritionist George Lockhart, shows admirable faith. But history offers a grim reminder. Every opponent before him also believed they had the right plan. None succeeded. Roy Jones Jr., despite praising Parker, knows the reality. If anyone deserves a shot at Usyk, Parker does. But deserving...
These call-outs are so unique. I feel like it's going to fall on deaf ears.
Unfortunately, it will.
I appreciate the call-out.
I appreciate that. I remember he did it with Dylan White and Anthony Joshua last year. And every one of them, they just get better and better. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I will say this now, right?
doesn't guarantee victory. Having the hardest fight of Usyk's career doesn't mean beating him. Usyk has built his career dismantling fighters with the very traits Parker relies on: durability, combinations, and experience. Parker might drag Usyk into difficult moments, but moments don't win fights. Rounds do, and over 12 rounds, Usyk almost always finds his rhythm, imposes his will, and drains opponents of hope. At the heart of this debate lies one question: can Joseph Parker truly survive the storm of Oleksandr Usyk? Supporters point to Parker's improvements, his confidence, and his rightful shot as mandatory challenger. But boxing isn't about entitlement, it's about execution. Usyk has proven time and again that he thrives under
I believe wholeheartedly in my ability and what I can do in the ring. I have full confidence that give me a good camp or give me some time to put in the work with Andy Lee and George Lockhart. Want to come up with a good game plan, probably different to everyone else's one, and just
pressure, systematically dismantling men who thought they had the answers. If Usyk wins, his legacy grows even further as one of the most complete champions of this era, cementing his dominance at heavyweight after conquering cruiserweight. If Parker shocks the world, it rewrites the heavyweight story overnight and crowns him as the man who finally solved boxing's most difficult puzzle. But when fans weigh the evidence, the sharpness, the rhythm, the adaptability, the proven greatness of Usyk versus Parker's hope, ambition, and relative inactivity, the conclusion feels hard to escape. Parker may be brave, he may be ambitious, but bravery without brilliance against Usyk is a dangerous gamble. Boxing thrives on these gambles. The underdog chasing greatness, the champion defending legacy, the tension of what if fuels every ticket sold and every fan.
Joseph Parker is the best fight for him right now because Joseph Parker is a guy who has the qualities and the experience that it would take to give Usyk the hardest time. I'm not saying he's gonna beat Usyk by no means, but he will give Usyk the hardest time of anybody. And if anybody, I think if they said, Roy, you got to take one guy right now, put your money on against Usyk, who would it be? It would be Joseph.
Debate. Yet, when the first bell rings, only two things matter: skill and execution. Right now, Usyk has both in abundance. Parker, for all his improvements, still seems to be chasing. And so the question remains: are fans backing Usyk's brilliance or daring to believe in Parker's upset dream?